never said I oppose fracking. Show the tape. Put it on your website. Put it on the website.
Live from Clark Studios in Rochester, New York. Broadcasting around the world. You're listening to You Made It Political, where the voice of the keyboard warrior is finally heard and the arguments presented are put to the political test. And now, here's your host, Matt Clark.
Ho, ho, holy crap. Did Facebook just get busted? We knew that they've been censoring conservative posted, Trump supportive, comments, posts, everything under the sun for the last few months, but we didn't have the proof. We just never had the proof, did we? We knew that even though Mark Zuckerberg in front of Congress took an oath to be honest and tell the truth, he claimed and said very clearly, Facebook is not a political biased social media platform, but it was lies, all lies, and we've got him caught, his employees on camera, to now reveal exactly what we all thought of Facebook in the first place. It's been criminal, it's been disgusting. They have literally changed the course of history, all because a company decides to take their own progressive issues into their own hand and completely ignore ethics and morale and everything that has to do with American freedom of speech and the right to let an election be as fair and just as possible. Today, we're going to head over to the Keyboard Warrior Cam, and I'm going to show you a video that I watched just this morning. I couldn't believe what I saw. This is real, raw, unplugged, caught on camera from legit sources of Facebook insiders admitting they played the system, admitting that they knew they should have taken down posts or leave posts up, and they didn't because of their political bias towards the Democratic Party. They were so against Trump becoming president that they did everything that they possibly could to steer the course of the election. Let's head over to the Keyboard Warrior Cam and take a look at a video that was posted by Project Veritas. For those of you guys who don't know, Project Veritas is a very reputable website and company that goes after and uncovers issues that many believe to have serious consequences within the environment today, the economic and social environment. So Project Veritas comes out with this video, and the story is around Zach McElroy. Zach is a former employee who was interviewed, and he put freedom of speech against all potential legal consequences that he signed in an NDA, but he didn't care because he put freedom of speech ahead. Let's take a look.
What percentage of the flagged posts in the civic harassment queue, as it's called, were Republican conservative?
I saw a stark contrast between Republicans versus Democrats in that queue. I saw upwards of 75 to 80% of the posts in that queue were from Republican pages, politicians, journalists, and pages that supported the president or supported conservatives.
What does that tell you about Facebook/Cognizant's algorithm here?
Well, certainly the algorithm is not human, but it had to be made by a human. So for 75 to 80% of the posts to be targeting Republicans and conservatives, you can say it was a bot, but somebody had to design that algorithm. So really, somebody at Facebook.
Some people on Capitol Hill have expressed interest in this ratio that you speak of. Are you willing to potentially testify under oath that three-quarters of the posts that you saw flagged were in one political direction?
To the best of my knowledge and ability, yes.
75 to 85% of posts in the civic harassment queue were Republican conservative-based posts or posts supporting President Trump. 75 to 85%. Zach goes on to discussing the fact that, listen, you can't just pass the blame on to an algorithm, because at the end of the day, an algorithm is developed by humans. So the algorithms in Facebook were developed to throw 75 to 85% of conservative-based posts or posts that supported President Trump into a queue considered to be civic harassment. Which, by the way, what is civic harassment even mean? Who gets to decide what civic harassment even is? So already we know that according to Facebook's algorithms, that they were intentionally and purposely moving these conservative Republican-based type of posts into a queue. The next video we're going to watch disgusts me beyond belief. It has to do with certain posts being allowed to stay up on Facebook that reeked of murder and treason, yet cartoons had to get taken down. Let's take a look.
So let's go to the Trump cartoon, this one here. Is this something that you saw at your tenure?
Yes, I actually saw this image a lot.
Tell me about this.
Well, this is an image, I believe it's in an art museum in Portland. They put this up as a bit of a political statement, and Facebook actually reacted to this, at least internally. They gave us a memo saying that this would not violate for violence and incitement or anything else, really. And so we were told to leave this image up as long as it didn't say, oh, I'm going to actually kill Donald Trump or something like that.
So you just told us about this one where they allowed it to stay up. They think that this cartoon with Elmer Fudd has high severity violence and incitement, but this does not. How do you reconcile that as a Facebook cognizant insider?
Well, frankly, I don't. There's no difference between the two. There's no logical reason why the determined reaction to those two posts would be different. They should be the same.
This is a...
So as you can see here, it's discussing what Facebook is actually allowed to go up. Let's take a look at that picture again. Here we have on the left a picture of President Trump with a knife to his neck, blood coming out, F-U-C-K Trump. Zach McElroy, ex-employee from Facebook, has a screenshot proof of an email from the heads of Facebook saying an image like this one here on the left is allowed to stay up. Yet the image on the right that has to do with guns was to come down. This image on the right here is Elmer Fudd, and there's a politician coming for, it says, I'm here for your guns. Elmer Fudd decides to blow his head off and says, you're not taking my guns. So we're allowed to have a picture on Facebook, which is completely allowed by the executives. They have allowed this picture to stay up, of the President of the United States with a knife to his neck, blood coming out, suggesting that it's okay to murder the president. Yet we can't talk about guns. If there's a picture about guns or for anything that's for guns, needs to come down immediately. So it's been very clear when you take a look at something like this, it's very clear just how progressive Facebook actually is and just how corrupt and biased they are towards the left. Something like this, it doesn't matter what party you're affiliated with. We all should agree that this is disgusting. And that any social media platform that allows an image of our President of the United States with a knife to the neck should be seriously questioned. So it's very biased, it's very political. They've been caught now. Whistleblowers have come forward and said, you guys are absolutely right. This is a very dangerous and very politically biased social media platform. And we're going to listen to what the keyboard warrior comments have to say in just a second. But I want to show you one more video. And it's the actual employees, the actual moderators at Facebook admitting on camera, undercover, admitting on camera that they can care less what the policies are, that they're either going to leave posts up that support Biden and get rid of anything that supports Trump without any concern or regard to what Facebook's policies actually are.
Let me run something by you. You know that civic harassment queue that we've been in lately?
Yeah,
Is it just me, or is it like all Republicans in there?
it's all Republicans. But a lot of it comes off of Trump's page specifically.
Yeah, because I see like a Bernie post, and then I'll see like 5 Trump posts in a row.
Yeah, it looks straight Republican related. Like, I love our president. Where are we getting this?
Steve Grimmett is a content moderator for Facebook in Austin, Texas.
It's a very progressive company who's very anti-MAGA.
I know that Facebook does have a Trump rule where they still allow him on the platform, even though he says things that if anyone else said it.
And that's the fortunate thing is, even if he does say something, if it gets repeated, we can at least get the average Joe. But it goes back to our discussion earlier. It's hard when you've got the top person in the country. That's his MO. But you know, Facebook's done a lot better job of at least policing the mimickers and the mockingbirds that come after Trump.
I assume your coworkers were deleting a lot of Trump.
Nobody likes Trump on that side.
You don't leave any go, do you? Like, if you see a conservative post, you just get rid of it, right? Right.
I don't give no I'll delete it.
Good.
And don't get salty. It's mostly
like, even if it's not, even if it's in policy, like, you're deleting that, right?
Yeah, I don't give no It's like 1 week left. What are they gonna do? Like,
right.
Send me to OIP? I don't give a
You told me that you just whack all the conservative posts and just gone, right?
Yeah. No, honestly, like every time, like half the time when I delete people for like pro-Trump, I'm like, you should be on a watch list, dude.
Yeah. Seriously.
Trump supporters like to throw around like Trump derangement syndrome as like, you know, liberals being crazy. I like to think of it as actually you're the one that has Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah, you're losing your goddamn mind as soon as, because they're just like, Trump 2020.
Yeah.
And it's like, that sounds a little more deranged to me when you end every argument than that.
Like, even like hashtag MAGA or hashtag MAGA 2020.
It's political, it stays up.
Yeah, but not for you.
No. Oh no.
Deleted.
Yeah.
So it's like delete any like positive Trump supporter stuff. But if it makes him look bad,
You have to take it down, but I leave it up.
you leave it up.
Right.
So
as you guys can see here, these moderators, kids, have actually really decided this election. And they have gone against Facebook's policies, whatever that may be. We don't know what the real policies are, but we've been told and we've learned in this interview here that it was supposed to be unbiased, that it was supposed to be kept fairly, yet every single moderator, or most of the moderators that we listen to, discuss their hatred towards Trump, towards the Republican Party, and that they are going to do whatever they want in the first place. They've thrown ethics out the door. These are children here running the country. They have single-handedly decided the course of this election by abusing their powers as moderators. It's very scary that a tech company has so much power right now that they can single-handedly change the course of history, which is what they've done. Employees are taking it upon themselves to leave up what they know should be taken down. They were told to take it down because of their hatred towards President Trump. Let's take a look at some of the comments here of how outraged many of the American people are right now from what they've just witnessed. I like this first comment by Elmren. Trump didn't create hate with the left, he revealed it. And that's exactly what's happened. It's not like none of this existed. None of this division existed before Trump. A lot of people say it went back to the Obama era, where the real division in the country started. Trump has only exposed the government for its corruptions and lies. His whole Drain the Swamp initiative has really allowed the American people to understand what goes on in the deep state. He's only shown us and given us the knowledge needed for us to form our own opinion. That's why there is such a divide right now. There's a divide because half the country can see it so clearly and half the country cannot. So there's a divide between the left and the right, not because President Trump caused it. It's because he has been constantly under attack by the left, and the left's supporters are now jumping on that bandwagon and are attacking the right. So it really starts with our government here. It starts with the two parties. And why wouldn't it? You've got a party you've got one side that were given the okay to loot, burn, riot, and attack America. They were given its blessing by the Democratic Party when the Democratic Party stood by all election long and said nothing. So just the way that the Democratic Party responded was enough for the left to say, okay, this is acceptable. We're going guns blazing, attacking the right. The right sat there and they took it. Understandably, a lot of people got frustrated and started attacking back. So did Trump really create division, or did he just expose the government for the hypocrisy that it really is? And has now given us, the American people, the tools and the knowledge to understand what's really going on here. Let's take a look at a few more comments here on the Keyboard Warrior cam. So this confirms, Cow Game said, so this confirms that Facebook is a publisher, not a platform. Time to treat them like such. Very true. Facebook is supposed to be an unbiased social media platform that's supposed to bring us all together and discuss worldwide issues that frustrate us, that concern us. Mark Zuckerberg said himself years ago when he started Facebook, he made it very clear, Facebook is going to be free for all. I want everyone around the world to come together and voice their opinions and concerns. Nowhere in his business model did he ever intend for it to be, well, we're going to allow certain concerns based on what we feel is appropriate, and we're going to throw out others. That's called CNN. That's called left-wing biased journalism. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, at least they started as a platform for us to all jump on and talk to each other, to let each other know how we're thinking, to let each other know what our frustrations are. And slowly, starting with the Trump presidency, they've shut down freedom of speech. They've completely shut down half the country. As we saw in the interview here, 75 to 85% of posts in the civic harassment queue were Republican pages or posts supporting the president. That is not freedom of speech. You are now siding with a certain political party, and you are no longer a social media platform. And Cow Games is exactly right. You're a publisher now. You may as well be a left-wing journalism or news outlet. And I understand Facebook's site, Facebook's rules. Sure, they can do whatever they want, but don't be surprised when Facebook starts to take a turn for its worst and their stock price plummets because people have had enough. We've now got Parler coming online, WeMe, and other social media platforms, Rumble. We've got platforms that are now everybody's rushing to. Politicians who are sick of it, right-wing journalists who are sick of it, are all starting to run to these unbiased social media platforms because they are sick of what YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and now what we all consider left-wing platforms are doing to silence half the country. And it's very frustrating. And what you'll find is that the more that we suppress freedom of speech, the more that we hold back what we all want to say, the more explosive we're going to be when shit really hits the fan. Because what happens when you suppress somebody? What happens when you silence them? That anger builds up. That frustration builds up. And that's what we're seeing right now. So when you have half the country going online to voice their frustrations and their posts are being deleted, their voices are being silenced, they're only getting more frustrated. They're only getting angrier. And that anger is building. And that is what's going to lead to the next civil war. It's healthy to talk about this. It's healthy to debate. And I think that the likes of social media and left-wing journalism is actually, they think they're being clever here, but it's a very dangerous game they're playing because they are single-handedly causing what may be the next civil war. Jesus Christ, dude, as a Democrat of 15 years, I'm checking all Republican this year. This is from John, and I've seen that a lot now. I've seen a lot of Democrats walk away from this whole thing, hence the whole walk away campaign that was started a few months ago. If you haven't seen it, log on to any social media platform, look up #walkaway. It's all about Democrats who have said, I've had enough of this. I can see the writing on the wall. I don't like the direction this country is headed. I've woken up to it. I see what's really going on here. And they have now gone full-blown Republican. I did a documentary earlier this year, and I've interviewed people, black people, white people, Asians, all sorts of nationalities who are now a part of the Walkaway campaign. They've all had enough. They know what's being done here on social media is wrong. It's completely against our very First Amendment, freedom of speech. It's our First Amendment for a reason. We should never be suppressed. And if we ever feel like we're being suppressed, we at least need to have choices so that we can go to other platforms in order to voice those frustrations, which is exactly what's happening now. If I was Facebook's shareholder, I'd be very concerned as to what's going to happen to my investment. And if they do plummet and Facebook loses everything, they asked for it. Rob says the terrorists, it's a good point, the terrorists loot, burn, steal, and kill. Never saw anyone in a MAGA hat doing these things. It's a very good point. We've got looting, rioting, burning. How is it that all of this has been allowed, but the support for Trump has been buried, has been suppressed? Why is it that we see violence on social media? People burning down buildings. I saw some horrendous, violent acts committed against elderly people right here in my home city, Rochester, New York. I've seen them get beat with wooden 2x4s, and that was allowed to stay up. But #MAGA 2020, according to the moderators in the interviews we just saw, were taken down. How does this make any sense? What's really going on here? Because this sort of propaganda, I don't think, has ever been so blatantly obvious and so blatantly disgusting as what we've witnessed this past election. You can just see it when you listen to Mark Zuckerberg under oath. You just know what's coming out of his mouth is completely false and inaccurate to what he's really thinking. He's not even good at hiding it anymore. It's so blatantly obvious that the likes of these social media platforms, for whatever reason, are lying to the American people, are stripping away our freedom of speech because they owe something to somebody, or they're doing it to please certain members of Congress in return for certain favors. Whatever it is, they are now in bed with other lobbyists, all for political gain. So it's a very good point. We've allowed terrorists to loot, burn, steal, and kill. But we've never saw anyone in a MAGA hat doing those things. Look at the peaceful rallies just this past, or a couple weeks ago in Washington, D.C. Very peaceful. I was so proud. I even posted on my timeline. I said, I cannot be prouder of you guys for keeping the peace down in Washington, D.C. You had BLM, Antifa, Trump supporters, hundreds of thousands of people, all within a couple mile radius, and they kept the peace. But if you don't allow these people to come out and voice their frustrations and voice their concerns and just vent, you're going to force them to bury this anger. And the next time they come out and they explode onto the scene, they won't be so peaceful. Credenza says, I am struck by the stupidity of the moderators. They consider their lack of ethics and their abuse of their positions to be a cause for celebration. In fact, they should be hanging their heads in shame. But when have we ever seen a millennial liberal hang their head in shame for anything that comes out of their mouth? For some reason, they think that the world owes them their gratitude for voicing their opinions, for taking a stance. It is a complete abuse of power. They've abused their powers. They're celebrating. Why Facebook hasn't come in to try to steer the cultural with ethics is beyond me. every company, I always tell people that have a problem with a company, it always starts at the top. The employees and their culture and their ethics is a direct reflection of their CEO, is a direct reflection of the board of directors. It trickles down from above. So I only have to assume that if the moderators are acting like this, it's because they've been given the blessings from above that it's okay and it's accepted. We'll send out an email that has it in writing that we're not okay with the policies. But really, guys, we are. So just go ahead and delete those posts or allow those to stay up. So we know that what's being said in the public eye is very different than what's really going on. And Project Veritas has just exposed Facebook for its corruption and lies. And Zach McElroy, former Facebook employee, if you guys didn't catch the beginning of this live, you can go back and watch it later, has come out, has put freedom of speech ahead of his NDA. He will face or may face legal complications because of this, but he chose freedom of speech over any legal implications he would face, which I think is extremely patriotic. And I'm very proud of people like Zach who have done that. And it'd be nice to see more people come and stand up against big tech now that Zach's come out and done it. Making America great again is a terrible thought to actual terrorists, domestic and foreign, I might add. Tricky makes me think of something that I've noticed on social media, and I don't know if a lot of you guys have noticed this. I've noticed that the most vocal and the most hurt or the most attacked feedback that I get are from non-Americans. Isn't that interesting that that I get attacked? My posts get attacked most from non-Americans. Why is that? It's because the rest of the world is looking at America right now and secretly hoping that we fail. They're jealous, they're envious. They've always been envious. America has true freedom. We really do. I've lived in countries all over the world. I've traveled to 40 plus countries across a few continents. I've observed, I've witnessed. I have never seen a freer country in the world than I have right here in America. Maybe it's because I've gone abroad and I've lived outside of this country for so long that I've opened my eyes to what really goes on in the world. But America is a free country, and I've seen the jealousy and the rage and the envy that many of our foreign, even allies, have on us. So they're secretly hoping and wishing that America fails over this. Hence the reason that they attack. The sad part is I never thought I'd see it from Americans. It makes sense that foreigners would think it because, listen, we always get jealous of whoever rises to the top. We envy these people. We wish we were them. So it's understandable to think that foreigners are thinking about the same thing as America, which, by the way, Americans, we do need to come together and we need to prove them all wrong, the same as we did during the attacks of 9/11. We rallied together. We showed the rest of the world that nothing is going to take us down. And it worked. But I never thought in a million years that I'd see this same level of hatred and attack from within our own country. And that is the saddest thing about what's happening right now. We're seeing our own domestic brothers and sisters wish ill upon this country. And we saw it with BLM, we saw it with the riots, and the attacks and the burning down of cities and historical monuments. We're seeing it in cities like San Francisco, where we're removing so many historical names from our buildings, including Abraham Lincoln, because he wasn't for the black people enough. A man who was shot in the back of the head for freeing black people is now being accused by a former principal that he didn't support them enough. It's outrageous. This country has gone absolutely mad, and it's a very sad time where I feel that more Americans are attacking this country than our foreign allies abroad, who I would expect to because of their pure jealousy and envy towards America. BNG says, this is exactly why I deleted my Facebook account many years ago, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that. I think that we're going to see as Parler, as Weemy, as Rumble, other sites start to go online, that we're going to see Facebook's audience dwindle. We're going to see its stock plummet. And eventually, we may see Facebook disappear completely. Captain Smirk says leftist socialists are erasing free speech and pushing a political agenda over constitutional rights. I'm shocked. Exactly what's happening here. We've touched on it many times. Freedom of speech is in jeopardy. I am all for your company, your rules, but not if you're going to be treating everybody differently. That's where I have to draw the line. And Facebook has gone with the leftist socialist agenda, and they have erased free speech. And this is the reason that we are so furious and frustrated. It is shocking. It's sick. It's just disgusting how not only has Facebook done it, but CNN's done it. Twitter's done it. YouTube's done it. They've all done it. When is enough enough? When are we going to start to fight back here? When is our government, who actually has the power, going to grow a pair and fight back themselves? When are we going to collectively come together as Americans again and say, you know what, this is not acceptable. This is wrong. What's happening out there on the streets, what's happening in big tech, what's happening in big pharma, it's wrong. There are so many things that are fundamentally wrong with this country. Half the country wants to turn a blind eye, while the other half is screaming to get through to the American people that something is wrong. But it takes our government to join the bandwagon. So either our government is against us or they're with us. And I think we'll find in the next few weeks exactly who they stand for, themselves or the American people. If Zuckerberg doesn't immediately fire all these people and launch widespread internal investigation, then we conclude that he's just as bad. It's exactly what I just said a minute ago. Corporate ethos starts at the top. The culture starts with your CEO. Mark Zuckerberg cannot waltz into Congress and say, Senator, we are not biased, while under oath, and then allow his employees and his moderators to act like this. Because your employers are a direct reflection of what you allow as a CEO. The buck stops with Zuckerberg. It's that simple. And he's allowed this to go on. He's allowed these disgusting posts like this. How is this allowed? Mark Zuckerberg and the moderators and the executives have taken the initiative and have decided that a meme of a knife to the President of the United States with blood dripping down his neck is acceptable. But anybody who stands for guns is not. It is outrageous. And it starts with him. It starts with Zuckerberg. Logan says they are deleting freedom of speech. I really don't understand how anyone can vote on the left right now. The sad thing is that this started back in June. This interview that's now posted on YouTube, it's by Project Veritas. Mind you, Trump, listen, Project Veritas, just so you guys know, is not some conspiracy theory nut job company that sits in their basement and just tries to get the American people all wound up. This is a very reputable and credible source in a site. Trump has come out and thanked them for work that he's done. Senator Ted Cruz has further investigated Google CEO because of news that Project Veritas has uncovered. So we have a lot of politicians who have accepted their sources, credible sources. And it's no surprise that they're now gaining momentum and traction. So these guys put this interview out in the middle of June. This has been out for a while now. And still, after everything that we've witnessed, this country has chosen to side with a party that is against freedom of speech, that stands for violence and rioting and looting and burning down cities and changing historical names and trying to erase history. It's mind-blowing that the left actually won, that more Americans, according to whatever numbers we're going to go by, that more Americans are okay with what's going on in this country. Unless, of course, it was all fraudulent. But who knows? We might never know because the Supreme Court doesn't even want to hear the cases either, which is another whole issue altogether. We'll end with our last keyboard warrior cam. Comment A. Groveling and violating our constitutional rights. That's exactly right. Why hasn't an investigation been opened up against Facebook for meddling in the election? We keep talking about Russia meddling in the election. Facebook has clear evidence. The Russian hoax, you haven't had a single piece of evidence ever come to light. Nothing, not one. 4 years of this Russian hoax. Not a single shred of evidence. Yet here we have evidence raining down on us. We have them caught on camera. We have proof, undeniable and verifiable proof, that Facebook allows this. Moderators have said they don't care. Yet, we don't go after Facebook for meddling in the election investigation. It's more hypocrisy of the left. It's mind-blowing to think that we are okay with this. At some point, we're going to have to stand up for what we know is right and go after big tech, big pharma, and demand that the politicians that we voted for start representing the American people again. Thank you so much for tuning in to You Made It Political. I appreciate you guys so much. Have a great, wonderful holiday week. I'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Thanks for listening to You Made It Political with Matt Clark. Be sure to like, follow, or